Mona. And, good evening to all of you. Nice to see so many people on this weekend. And it really goes to show your interest in the topic. And that is the primary requirement to understand briefly. I'm not saying you will become a professional by the end of this 1 hour, but to understand briefly this struggle that we are in to finding out what is the root cause of our problems. Okay, this can be applied anywhere, even in the life or life situations, or even at your work. Okay, so I'm trying to. If you can just tell me if you can see the screen, I'm just trying to upload. Can you see the screen? Is it visible? Is
Yes.
the screen? Is my screen
Yes.
visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So the topic today is, I'm not writing it as root cause analysis, etc., because we will come to that slowly. I'm saying learning from mistakes, okay, for healthcare. But as Dr. Mona said, I'll briefly introduce myself to you first. And basically, I'm from a commerce background, MBA in total quality management and operations. I've done my diploma in human resources, master's in computer science, and diploma in travel tourism management. I was basically working in an airline industry, so it's a service industry, worked with Air France, British Airways, and so on. And then moved on because I saw my capabilities with quality. So I started off with operations quality back in 2000. So I've been with quality since now 21 years. So I started off in late 99, 2000, so around 21 years into quality. And slowly I built on my other capabilities of environment management system, occupational health and safety management system. So what the numbers that you see on my second point, I'm a certified lead assessor and trainer for ISO 9001, which is the quality management system. ISO 14001 is environmental management system. ISO 45001 is occupational management system, and so on. I'm also a master neuro-linguistic practitioner and a life coach. I've got my NLP certification from IIP Canada, life coach from US. I've been a faculty and a senior examiner of business excellence. I'll come to what is business excellence a little later. Faculty for management, faculty for quality, faculty for environment, occupational health and safety, and so on. In the meanwhile, I've also managed to publish 2 books. The first book is what partly we will be discussing today in this session, because this book, if you get hold of this book, it's available on Amazon. It was published in the US in 2008, Insight into Corrective Action. This is basically what I'm going to talk about today briefly. The second one is, of course, the religious one. And my experience in various profiles have taken me to 18 plus countries, worked there, trained there, and I'll share with you some of these experiences. I think that's a little about me, and we'll proceed now for the topic. So, I want to see what do we learn from mistakes. Now, very often when we go to organizations, when I'm doing auditing, I'm doing examining, first and foremost, as human we want to hide our mistakes. Okay? Especially we do not want to showcase to auditors, we don't want to showcase to our peers or to managers or to the organization itself. And that is where we need a change of mindset, wherever we are, whatever situation we are. If we find out that it's a mistake, we must own it. So that's the primary discipline that we need to have first. Putting yourself in situations where you can make interesting mistakes is another very interesting way, creative way to improve a situation. If you know that there is a possibility of making mistakes, put yourself into those situations and be adventurous, and you learn from them. You can also learn from other people's mistakes. When others make mistakes, we don't laugh at them or we don't shoo them away or we don't blame them, but we learn from that kind of a mistake, what they made, why this mistake has been taken place. And most important, like I said, is having the self-confidence to admit to them. We shouldn't be afraid to admit to the mistakes. And organizations, on the other hand, the management, on the other hand, also should be able to accept mistakes. Because without mistakes, we will not learn. We will not improve. Many of the inventions have happened through mistakes. Many of the innovations have happened through mistakes. And so the mistake is the big asset to all of us. Okay? And we need to be courageous about making the changes. What kind of changes? We will look at it as we go in this session today. There's a slight difference between what is an error versus a mistake. An error can be defined as a difference between actual or true value and the measured value. So if I want to do something in a particular way and I did not do it that way, it can be an error. Or I made so many mistakes. That's an error. An error should not be confused with a mistake. Mistake can be avoided, while the error cannot be avoided, but they can be reduced or minimized. Okay? So we will see slowly what's the difference between the two. But for us, for our explanation today, let's assume both are the same. Now I want to throw open a question to all of you. I think there are about 10, 15 of us in the group. If all of you could share with me, what are some of the errors that you think that have happened in the medical industry? Dr. Mona had shared with us one case study about the nurse cutting off the finger. But besides that, what kind of medical errors that you have seen in your work or what you have seen in the medical industry? Please open up and share one by one. Anyone can start.
Hello, can I start?
Yes, sir. Mahesh.
Dr. Mahesh.
Dr. Mahesh, yes.
Okay. Yeah, many times it orthopedics, you're supposed to operate one leg and many times they could operate the other leg.
Okay, great. So you operate the wrong limb. Okay, yeah. Any other that you have heard of? Anyone else? Come on, I'm sure you've seen many.
You can type in case you're not able to unmute.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Come on, I'm sure it's not that difficult. We share. We share. We learn by sharing.
There should be many people coming in for this. Mistakes we see everyday basis.
You see, 24 hours, 24/7, we see things.
Come on, you don't have to name the doctors who made the mistake. Have you all seen that the nurses could administer a wrong medicine, hearing the wrong name?
Okay, wrong medication.
And that happens when people have this look
Okay,
alike.
so Shruti says many times they leave behind surgical items inside the body. Yes,
Correct.
very much. So we heard about wrong leg being cut, wrong medication, surgical items being left behind the operation theater. What else?
Missing an appointment. You have the appointment for 1 month and you look at it a month later.
Okay, delayed treatment, delayed appointments. Let's see some new faces. Come on. Let's hear from new faces. You can speak to me in Hindi also if you want to, in case. I'm sure you must be going home and telling people at home what all happened during the day, right? Interesting events.
Guys, this is an interactive session. Please come up with your queries and discussions.
Okay, we've got one. Let me just read out that. Dr. Mona, can you read out the one that Saima has written?
Yeah, so Saima says wrong investigation, x-rays, scans of opposite limb, administering 2 doses of same medication due to documentation errors. Oh yes, this has happened during vaccination drives also.
Yes.
One person receiving 2-3 shots and one person receiving empty dose.
Empty doses, salines, water, whatever. Yeah.
Oh God, yes.
Yes. It has also happened in the case of polio drops. Children being given something different and they were vomiting and whatever. They went into ICUs after that recently.
Yeah, and in UP, I came across this news wherein people had gone for vaccine, COVID vaccines, and they ended up getting rabies shots. And then they went to the officer concerned there to ask for the certificate. He said, you were in the wrong line. That was the dog bite line.
Oh God.
Okay. That's
too much.
Yeah. Also, we must have heard of compounders and peons administering injections, etc.
I just saw it.
Yes. So a lot of these errors that takes place in the medical industry. What is the end result of this? What happens? What is the outcome of this? One is, of course, you take the life of a person, maybe, or maybe you paralyze a person. What else can happen? What else can happen? In quality, if you believe in quality we believe that whatever we do is for the customer. Who's your customer? Who's your customer?
The end user, your patient.
Hello?
The end user, patient.
Dr. Mahesh, yes. The customer is your patient. Who pays your salary? From where do you get your salary? Or whatever money you make?
In my case, it is the patient because I do basically private practice.
No, I mean generally, in a medical industry, who pays your salary?
Yeah, that's good.
Anyone else want to attempt that? Who pays your salary? It's the patient, customer, right? The customer pays your salary. And therefore, in quality, what we say is whatever we do, the output of it has to satisfy the customer, has to improve the customer satisfaction, customer happiness for whatever the customer, for in our case, we call it a patient, whatever the patient has come for. And therefore, errors and mistakes that can cause an effect, an ill effect to a customer or to a patient, can actually in turn bring a black mark into the medical industry. Now, here are some of the common types of medical errors that I could think of, and I'm sure you can add on another 2 more pages to it. Some of them we discussed just now as examples: medication errors, errors related to anesthesia. How many of us have seen cases where people don't wake up after being anesthetized because of anesthetic errors? Hospital-acquired infections. Majority of infections come from the hospital. A patient may not have had any infection, but when they are admitted to a hospital, if the hospital is not disinfected properly every time, 24/7, they catch infection. They catch infection from the lines. They catch infection from the bed. They catch infection from many things. Today we have learned, today we are experiencing this kind of thing in a big way because of the COVID, where everything that you hold, we sanitize it first. In hospitals, are everything sanitized? Or at least some things were sanitized. Whether everything is being sanitized correctly, we don't know. Hospital-acquired infections, biggest errors. And many hospitals do not agree to this as an error. I'm sure you agree to this. They will never own up an infection that has been caused from the hospital. Missed or delayed diagnosis, we just spoke about it. It's important that when a patient checks in with a problem, they need to diagnose whatever is required to be diagnosed to understand what the problem is with the patient. Either you miss it or you delay it, whatever reasons. Avoidable delay in treatment. In the outside world, in the industry, we call it turnaround time, cycle time. This shows the agility aspect. How agile are you? Inadequate follow-up after treatment. Treatment is done, you go your way and they're not bothered about you. Inadequate monitoring after a procedure. You want the bed for the next patient to come in, therefore try and discharge the patient as soon as possible before monitoring or before complete cure. Failure to act on test results. Sometimes we do an overdose of tests, but they may not be even meaningful. Or sometimes there are meaningful results, but sometimes the doctors don't even know what they are. I've seen cases where nurses do not even know how to interpret the tests. Or some of the doctors, junior doctors, don't know how to interpret the test results. And that is one of the failure. And this is still a big problem. Failure to take proper precautions, sanitizations, etc. And all the technical medical errors that we can put into it. We can add on to this list. These are just some of the things which you may have encountered. And that's what I said in the beginning. We have to have a different mindset to accept it as a mistake. How many of us as physiotherapists, when we are working on a bedside procedure in the hospital, have seen patients with bed sores and do not report it? Because it's not your problem. You have come to probably give a treatment to the leg, to the movement of the leg or hand or whatever. How do you value add to the patients who are there? That brings me to the topic on corrective action. Have you heard of this term called corrective action? Anyone? Have you heard of this term called corrective action? Have you heard of this term called corrective action? Anyone?
Yes.
If you heard it, what does it mean?
What action has been taken for that mistake?
What action have you taken for?
That mistake. To solve the mistake.
Okay, Dr. Mahesh says, what action have you taken for that mistake? Okay, anybody else has another answer? Anyone else has another answer?
Yes, the mistake has been identified. Corrective action, as in terms of the program policies, have been evaluated. The the area has been looked into, the space where the mistake has happened or the incidence has been reported from, and the need gap is analyzed. What is
Right.
the-
So Mr. Siddharth has given it. Yeah.
and then a proper proper policy is implemented and seen that it is being followed. If there is a stepwise correction that needs to be made, each step needs to be followed, and that needs to be under constant audit of the manager concerned or the NS or the MS concerned. Then only the corrective action will come out to be a corrective action in terms of its true spirit.
Correct. So Mr. Siddharth has given the right answer on that, and all of us we feel that corrective action is to correct a problem, and therefore today we need to understand the difference between what is correction and what is corrective action. What Mr. Mahesh said, partly right, is correction. Dr. Mahesh said, is correction. So that means if I see a problem, if there's a wrong surgery done or the sutures are not correctly done, I go and put it and correct it. That is correction. But that will not eliminate the problem that we have created. Right? So therefore, actual definition of corrective action as per quality, as per ISO 9000 is to eliminate the cause of the non-conformity, to prevent the recurrence of that problem. And therefore, we need to find out the cause. Is it the policy error? Is it the procedure error, like Mr. Siddharth said? What is the cause of the underlying problem? What was the non-conformity? Wrong suture or wrong stitching or whatever, wrong operation, wrong medication. Why was the medication given wrong? What led to that problem? It is not on the person. It's always on the system. And therefore, we need to find out what was the cause of the non-conformity to prevent the recurrence of the problem, so that no one else in that area, in that hospital, in that organization commits the same mistake again. So, for example, what Dr. Mona said about the child whose finger was cut while she removed the IV lines, what was the cause? Why did it happen? It's important to understand that cause. And if we don't understand the cause, then we will not be able to eliminate it. Can you all see the screen? Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Screen is visible, but sorry, if you could put it on a slideshow mode, it will become a bigger
not in the
screen.
slideshow mode. One second.
Yeah.
It's on the slideshow mode.
No, we can see the slides and the side also.
Okay.
Or make it full screen, maybe.
Okay, let me make it full screen.
Yeah. No, but still it's not in slideshow mode.
Yeah, but when I put it on slideshow, this is on slideshow. I can see it on slideshow.
Acha. We are able to see on the other slides on the left hand side also.
One second. Now is it okay? Now is it okay?
Yeah, this is fine. I think whenever you're picking up a slide, maybe you need to just tap it once, and then we can all see that.
Uh,
Tap it in the
This
left.
is better.
Left hand. This is
This
better.
is better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll move like this. Okay, great. So if you see the word, what I've written there is eliminate the cause, not eliminate the error. You understand the difference? Eliminate the cause of the non-conformity. Eliminate the cause of that problem. Non-conformity is a problem. That is the mistake or the error. So that to prevent the recurrence of that problem. This is the key that you have to keep in mind. So the first step is, as Dr. Mahesh said, correction. I need to correct immediately the problem. There is a bleeding that is taking place. I need to stop the bleeding. And then I need to observe and find out why did the bleeding occur. Understand the difference? Now, this will lead us to the root cause analysis. That's why I did not name this program as root cause analysis straight away, because I want you to understand where are we heading to get into the root cause. So eliminate the cause of a non-conformity and to prevent the recurrence. Now there can be one or more cause for a non-conformity. I will give you an example, a very interesting example. Many years ago, I was working in a British Airways organization, and there was one unit that had to work in the night shift, and they had to enter data. Okay, they had to enter data continuously across the globe. All the data had to be entered into a particular system, people. And there were people in all the three shifts: morning shift, afternoon shift, and the night shift. Like how nurses and all of you all may be working in different shifts, they were also working in different shifts. And there were a lot of errors being found in that particular system. Now, this is not from your industry, but I can just tell you why I'm getting into this. And when they analyzed, now how will I understand the cause? You have to analyze the data. So somebody has to keep recording the data, right? So somebody has to keep recording all the transactions, what has happened, and then monitor it. We call it a PDCA approach, plan, do, check, act of Deming. I can talk on another occasion about it, but right now if I talk about it, it's another topic by itself. So checking and monitoring is important. They found out from the analysis that majority of the mistakes were done by people in the night shift. Remember, just basic data entry. Then they further went to find out that the mistake was caused between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning. So then they all got into a huddle to do a root cause analysis. Why? So they found out a mistake is caused now between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. Others were okay. So why do you think they caused that mistake? Between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. Why do you think the mistake happened during 12 a.m.? Lack of sleep. Yes. So they were all feeling sleepy. That's a peak sleep hour, peak sleep time for those who sleep in the night. You will notice that is your peak sleep time, right? So they were, because of which they went into sleep. Now, can we give them a solution to go and sleep at that time and work? So 3 hours of productivity is gone, right? Imagine if all the nurses went up to sleep between 12 to 2. What will happen to the patients? So they went to find out. They found out one reason, one cause, that is lack of sleep. Correct. Peak sleep time. So they were making mistakes. But that is not the answer. They went deep further down. Why lack of sleep? Do you think you have an answer for that? Why they were feeling sleepy during that time? Do you think you have an answer to that? Having worked a whole day. No, they are in the night shift. Hectic day routine. No, they only work in the night. They're not like the nurses who work overtime. Sometimes, yeah. Any answer? Boredom. No. See, when they found out, they asked the same people, why were you sleeping? Sleep cycle changes, no, but they're used to it. Inability to adapt to night shift, maybe to some extent. So they asked everyone around biological clock. All these are right, but the majority of the answer was they were not sleeping during the daytime. For them now the clock is different, right? They're supposed to sleep during the day in order to the night. So now the cause has gone into a different direction. Why were they not able to sleep during the day? Why were they not able to sleep during the day? And they called in an expert how to sleep during the day. So the expert explained you got to create that atmosphere at home. Yeah, household chores, yes, to some extent. Created, yes, the light has to be dimmed, etc. Put the curtains, draw the curtains, create that atmosphere at home, and then sleep in the night. Sleep during the day to work in the night. So they did that exercise, and then they went on to look at the errors. But the errors still did not fail. There were hardly any marginal improvement in the error. They went back again to do the cause analysis. Eyes were on the screen on the whole night, yes. They went back again on the cause analysis. Even after giving them a lecture and people going in for sleep during the day, they still felt sleepy during the night. Now, why do you think they slept? Motivation, okay, but they were all good, well paid and well rewarded, recognized. They were working in an airline and they had all the benefits and they were happy. Now, this is a live event, okay, live example. I've seen this in front of my eyes. I was part of this system and I had audited them. That is why I am aware of this. Come on. Let's get an answer from you. Concentration. Why? No, not system error. Why they were not able to concentrate? Why they were feeling sleepy still? They went into another set of root cause analysis. What did they do? They invested in a loudspeaker, speaker system, and they put on blaring songs and rock musics in the night, and to let them work with that. But if you were feeling sleepy and you're high on your sleep, yes, work environment audit was done. It was not work environment. Even with loud noises around you, you can go to sleep snoring off into glory. That also failed. They went again into a root cause analysis. Then came in a dietitian who said they were not eating properly during the night before coming for dinner. They were having greasy, oily meals, which led them to sleep during the night. And they advised fruit diets and so on and so forth. To this extent, the action plan was each of them daily would bring in a fruit at work. And all of them during their break would cut that into make it into a fruit salad and eat for dinner together. And now then the productivity increased. What is the lesson from this? The cause analysis is nowhere near around your dictionary. Very often industries I have seen, I have audited, I have experienced, they have a repertoire, a directory of cause analysis, and they pick up one from there and say, this is the cause. And that is why they fail. You need to get into the real root cause of the problem. And there can be more than one cause, like you all mentioned. Yes, possible. Some of the causes are right in our heads, but who is the right person to get to the root cause? The people working in that area, the people interacting with you, they are the ones who can actually get into the right root cause and get. Now, yes, like somebody said, overwork, yes, it can be a problem. And a classic example, you may have heard of Air India pilots who have missed air crashes all because they went off to sleep on the wheel because they had overworked. They were rostered in two different sectors, one after another. They were tired. And yes, sleeping patterns does impact all of these, and it can put lives at danger. Many of the medication errors are because of this. The nurse walks up from a sleep and gives the medication, not being fully alert, because not of the fault of the nurse most of the time, because he or she is overworked. Do you agree with me? Are you now getting to this root cause? Root cause is not easy to get. You will not get the root cause from your own top of the head, whatever comes into your mind first. You have to ask the right person, the right group to get to the root cause. And if you see the third bullet point, what I've written there, corrective action, what I've been talking all about right now, is taken to prevent the recurrence. Now, there is another word called preventive action. This is taken to prevent the occurrence itself. How can you take preventive action? Classic example is vaccination. Why do you take vaccination? To prevent the occurrence of a disease, right? So we take vaccination. Similarly, we need to keep learning best practices, knowledge sharing from our industry to understand what went wrong and how was it corrected in all our clinics, in all our therapy centers, in all our hospitals and organizations, wherever we are working, so that you can avoid this problem. There was this mother who was giving a glass of milk to a child, and every time the child would drop the glass, and the mother went to do a little root cause analysis to find out that she was giving the child in a steel glass, and steel is a good conductor of heat, as you know, and the child may not have been able to tolerate that heat, even though we may be able to tolerate that mild heat. So what did she do? Next time she shifted to a plastic glass or another container, type of container, which does not transfer the heat to the hand. And it worked. And the child did not drop, right? So the mother was observing this child all the time, and from the observance, she found out it was the heat transfer. And the neighbor, every morning, the neighbor used to come and have to chat with this mother, with her child. And the neighbor saw this happening. And the neighbor said, I have not yet started giving my child in a cup, in a mug, in a glass, but I must implement this problem beforehand so that my child does not drop the milk. That is preventive action. So the first one was corrective action. The second one was preventive action. What is the common word between the two? Action. I may take the root cause. I may do all the possible cause analysis. Thank you, Simon. I may do all the possible root cause analysis, but if I don't take the action at the end, like even Mr. Siddharth said, action can be a policy change, a procedural change, a training requirement, whatever. Then that action, that entire exercise goes into a waste. And each time I do a root cause analysis, there is a learning from it. That learning becomes a knowledge for me to train other people. It's a precious knowledge. If you get into my YouTube channel, you will see one of the video on knowledge management. Do take a look at it, it's free. Also, you can look at another one on PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. You can also see those. I'll share the link later. So, any doubts up to here before I go to the next slide? Any questions? Okay. Now, here's the one second. So now we'll get into what is root cause analysis. Root cause analysis means getting into the real root of the problem. That is why it says root cause. Basically, it is cause analysis, but getting into the root of the problem. What are the things that we've just learned in order to do a root cause analysis? We must be observant, number one. We must record everything that has happened. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. We must analyze our data in whatever form of analysis, statistical tools, or whatever form of analysis you use. Analyze the information. And when you analyze the information, when you analyze the data, you get the information. The information is the cause analysis. Okay? And then take action on it. Now we have a couple of Can you see the screen easily? Is it visible? Okay. So what is the root cause analysis? It's a popular tool that helps determine the basic underlying cause of a problem. And there is a structured steps that you need to follow. Okay? It could be a human error. It could be a performance below standard. It could be an equipment failure, any adverse event that have taken place, etc. The first step is to identify the problem. I need to understand, narrow down to what the problem is, exactly what the problem is. Select a team that can help you with this. And the team, like I told you, should be part of the people who are working on that area. They will be able to help you to identify the root cause. Collect the information, the data that is required. Identify the very factors that are the root causes. Identify the root causes. Define and implement an action plan. Monitor it and assess the results after you have done it. You don't leave it there. After you have done it, like I told you in the example of the errors in the British Airways, we monitored it again and we found out that the errors have come down. That means it was a successful problem, a successful analysis. Okay. Now these are Now this I've taken from Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality in the United States. 8 common root causes of medical errors. Okay. These may be what they have concluded, but we can always arrive at more. And I told you how to get it from. So the recent study from Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, they have identified this. 8 common root causes of medical errors. The first one is communication problems. How many of you feel we have communication problems? How many of you feel that errors are because of communications? And can you share an example how it has happened? How you have an interesting example of communication? Yes, Dr. Shruti. Can you share? Can you read what are the doctor's handwriting? So do you agree that it is a communication problem? Most of the times. That's one example. What else?
I think many a times within the team, doctors and other healthcare professionals lack communication, due to which patient misses out a lot of information or their time in regards to further treatment of the procedures.
So what kind of, yes, then we said lack of communication is one of the problems, but can you share an example? One was, of course, I shared with you doctor's handwriting. Maybe half-baked information, right?
Yes.
Maybe assumption that you know everything, and I can just give you summarize it briefly, and I can move off.
One example could be pre-surgery counseling, which
Yes.
lacks at a lot of places. I mean, even if it is done, it's so brief that for a lay person, it is very difficult to anticipate what is exactly going to happen, and if on table any additional surgery needs to be done, they are not aware, even though it seems or it is told that it was communicated.
Very good. I was examining a hospital. I don't want to name the hospital. And my question to them was, show me with evidence, how do you create a customer focus? Okay. And since it's a medical fraternity, I can tell you about this. So in the board meeting, there was the chief surgeon. And he told me, sir, can you visit me tomorrow at the major OT number, whatever number he has given me, major OT, and at so-and-so time. So I was there the next day also. So I said, fine, I'll come there and I'll listen to what you have to say. So he invited me and my team to the OT, big operation theater, and right in the middle lay a patient ready for surgery. And we were at the door, and we were all scrubbed and, of course, ready for the OT visit. But I wasn't sure whether I should go close to the patient, because obviously I can be a cause of infection, etc. But then he told us to come in, and of course there were 2-3 of us from my team who dropped out because they didn't want to. They couldn't stand, surgery and blood and so on. So he invited me there, and I went close to the center where the patient was laid. And he said, no, come more closer. And on the bed, operation theater bed, around it were all anesthetists, doctors, everybody all around it. And this patient was a lady, on a heart surgery. And he said, come over and look, see what is in his hand. He had the heart of this lady in his hand. Because it was connected, it was not taken out. He had taken out the heart. But that was not important. He said, observe the direction in which this girl is lying now. She was lying one side. And therefore, he said, I had excised from the rib, from the side rib, from the side. Okay? And taken out the heart for the surgery. So I asked him, yes, but so what? So he said, the patient requested one thing from me. I'm not married. I'm a young girl. I don't want a scar in the front. So I had to figure a way out how to do the surgery. So he did the surgery from the side. The scar is on the side. So you can understand what this means. How communication from patient to the doctor is most important. If I'm a chief surgeon, if I have to listen to this most intricate things, I need to be patient-centric, patient-focused. I need to be able to understand what the customer is trying to tell me or what the others are trying to tell me. Communication is a big issue today. Whether verbal or written, these issues can arise in medical practice or any healthcare system and can occur between a physician, between a nurse, between a healthcare team member or patient. And if a poor communication more often results in medical errors. And this is something which this agency has found out as one of the root cause. It's important to listen. I always ask this question to everyone whenever I go to a hospital. Why do people go for second opinion? Somebody talked about counseling, right? Why do people go for second opinion? You haven't heard them completely. Maybe you don't understand their financial problem. Maybe you don't understand some other problems. Communication issues. Second one is inadequate. I'll go a little faster because I think I'm running short of time. Inadequate information flow. Information flow is most critical in any healthcare setting, especially within different service sectors. Insufficient information flow happens when necessary information does not flow or follow the patient when they are transferred to another facility or discharged from one component or another to another organization. Inadequate information flow can also cause many problems. Lack of crucial information when needed to influence prescribing decisions. Lack of appropriate communication of test results. Poor coordination of medication orders for transfer of case. The next one is human problems. This can occur when standards of care, policies, processes, or procedures are not followed properly or efficiently. Therefore, you need to constantly train and retrain and conduct refreshers. Some of these examples could be poor documentation, labeling of specimens, knowledge-based errors also occur when individuals do not have adequate knowledge to provide the care that is required at the time when it is needed. Patient-related issues, I spoke about that at length. They may include inappropriate patient identification, inadequate patient assessment, failure to obtain consent properly, insufficient patient education. That's what I was talking about, patient counseling. In fact, I want to ask you this, do you treat them symptomatically or first understand the patient's history? I've heard of patients complaining that my physiotherapist or occupational therapist behaves like a PT sir or a PT madam in the school. So where is your empathy? Where is that nursing ability, etc.? Understand the patient's history, understand what the patient really needs. and then start the treatment. Organizational transfer of knowledge, I spoke about that. Whenever you hear from one department, another department, transfer the knowledge, transfer the best practice sharing. And these, if it doesn't happen, the errors can repeat within the same organization. I have lots of examples. I need about a full day to give you a lot of these case studies. It can also affect staffing patterns and workflow. Someone who's overworked, someone who's put in the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay, all of that. Competence issues, that is what I would say. Any technical failures, complications, medical devices, implants, grafts, or pieces of equipment. We've heard a lot of cases of Johnson & Johnson knees that have been replaced of faulty this thing and so on and so forth. There are many examples. Inadequate policies, which I talked about earlier. Now there are, quickly we'll go into the types of root cause analysis. There are various tools available in the market.
We can take, so we can I think keep the types for question answers, because I don't know how many of them are actually going to do that.
I'll just
because by 7:30 we need to. Yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
I'll just quickly run through these two slides and then I'm done. So these are the tools. 5 Ys, or it's also called YY. Then there's a fishbone diagram, which is also called as the Ishikawa diagram, created by Ishikawa, a famous quality guru.
We can't see that slide.
You cannot see? Okay. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Ishikawa diagram or fishbone diagram. The 5 Ys are the YYs. FMEA or failure mode effect analysis. Pareto chart are the scatter diagram. So I'll quickly take you to the first two, and because of lack of time, I'll just share with you the first two quickly, how this happens. YY is asking many times why, not just 5 times, but multiple times why. To give you a simple example, which you can relate to, is I'm taking a name called John Smith, okay? Why did John Smith make the mistake? Because he did not attend the training. Why didn't John Smith attend the training? Because he was absent on the day of the training. Why was John Smith absent on the day of the training? Because he was unwell. Now I can't ask the question, why was he unwell? We have no control on that. So why didn't we realize this and train him later? Because it was not there in the procedure. So our procedure should say that if somebody is absent from the training, I find another time to train or retrain. So basically, define the problem. Why is it happening? Keep asking the whys till you get the right root cause. And the second one is, here is another example. Got caught speeding. Why? Because I was late for work. Why got up late? Alarm clock didn't work. Why? Because the batteries were flat. Why? Because I forgot to replace them. So you put a countermeasure to that. So you see, here's an example for it. Another example, the kettle didn't heat the water. Why? No power, the fuse in the plug was blown. Incorrect. Again you ask why. Incorrect rate fuse was fitted. Again you ask why. Required fuse was not specified and there was no specification. So these are some of the examples which you can do it yourself, brainstorm in your teams and ask. What is a fishbone diagram? You put a problem statement in the head of the fish, and you take the 5 M's, people, manpower, that is machinery, methods, materials, you can take mother nature and so on, and keep asking why, put the cause under these areas. Okay, and since we don't have time, I'll quickly take you to one example of the fishbone diagram. So here are bad burgers. Okay, so machine, the problem was with the storage and cooking equipment, poor hygiene, poor maintenance. If you see the environment too hot, will impact quality of food, humidity, method, material, measure, people working, and so on and so forth. Now you pick up which is the common and the most important root cause from here, and you take an action plan. So we'll go to the questions later. That's what, Dr. Mona? Dr. Mona?
Yes, we'll hold on for the question. Yes, I think the later slides are they require so much of description and they're so intriguing. Actually, I personally don't want to leave this at this point of time. But yeah, I think we could, probably ask you a favor to come back again and explain in details about those slides also. We'll stay back for the questions. I think please hold on and keep your questions ready because we'll take them after our next speaker finishes the talk. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Let me just quickly introduce our next speaker, Mr. Siddharth Jha. So, Siddharth Jha sir was the CEO of Sheetla Hospital, where I did my apprenticeship or observership as an MBA student. And later he joined the same company rather, which was into IQ group of hospitals. So we kind of really worked there as well. So I remember the kind of ease that he works with and the many hats he puts on his head while he works. I remember when people come to him with some few budgets and few bills. I think the ease with which he handles the money business as well as the quality as well as the beds and so many things in a hospital, whatever the hospital needs. I think it's amazing the way he just calculates on mentally and gives figures. It's all amazing. So I've always been impressed with his efficiency, and I thought of him to be invited. So please help me welcome Mr. Siddharth Jha. So please, the stage is yours. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Dr. Mona. Thank you so much for your kind words. And quickly, I'll just introduce myself. I have something like more than 27 years of experience into different industries. Started with media, moved into healthcare. So I have come from I came from a different world to a very, very different world. So, an experience where I was doing broadcasts and newspapers and FM radio and stuff like that, setting up those businesses rather than doing them myself, but setting up those businesses. And then moved into healthcare and then started setting up hospitals here in the healthcare sector and built up around 40 eye centers and a multi-speciality hospital. I was the chief operating officer of the company called IQ Vision Private Limited. It's a PE-funded company. Again, then finance factor also came in, wherein we were interacting with the private equity operators to lend us money give us money as an equity. So, very interesting discussion point was raised by Dr. Mona one day. She called me up and she said, what is your take on this? Ergonomics and your take on the fact that something like that which she mentioned in the nurse episode. How do you think that should have been? So, while planning the hospital, I have had the opportunity of taking inputs from people who belong to the her industry, or Mona's industry. When it comes to planning a hospital, and when people ask me how many square foot would you allocate to an ICU bed, I say keep it absolutely 9x8, nothing less than that. So if you keep 9x8, and then you have the alley of another 3 feet, nothing is going wrong. Nobody has the problem of anybody else working on the other bed and another nurse working on the other patient. Your circulation area needs to be well defined for the patient to be comfortable. Why? Because ergonomics is all about making comforts, giving comfort to your body, bones, limbs. When it comes to the patient, and exactly precisely why I say hospital is the best place and healthcare industry is the best industry where ergonomics has to be taken as an input while we are planning and as well as while we are operating the hospital on a day-to-day basis. So I saw my NICU one day and I was little appalled. The NICU nurse, she was crammed between the cot and the window. And that's where I realized when she spoke to me about that nurse, cutting off the fingers, and then I said to myself, I saw it myself that particular day in my NICU. And then I had to get one proper card removed, a bed lesser, but bring in better quality. Lesser bed meant less revenue, but a better quality meant repeat customers too. If something would have gone wrong, like as drastic as what happened in that hospital in Assam, something would have gone wrong. The word of mouth gives us a very bad name, particularly in the industry that we belong to, the healthcare industry. Because everything is linked to life and death. When I see a patient coming into the hospital, and because it's no cinema place, you have a person who is in pain. What can you do? Maximize, on the maximum level to reduce his pain, make him comfortable, make him smile, and go back home as quickly as possible. And as Mr. George says earlier, and that should be the target so that he doesn't get any hospital-acquired infections. And comes with an infection, has secondary infections. But those are the areas where we need to fully concentrate and see to it that the patient is brought in, settled, not kept for very long unless just medically required, and not for unnecessary tests, and sent back home as soon as possible. See, a patient laughing out of the hospital goes back home with a smile on his face, brings in a lot of comfort to the doctor. I, as a manager of the hospital, I feel it myself, because the patient goes back, calls me up to say a thank you. That is a big earning also in this industry. So, wherever we go, can you see the screen, please? Is my slideshow?
I can't see. Is anybody able to see?
Once.
No.
Is it now visible?
Yeah. So please put it on slideshow. It's a bigger screen.
Can you see the next slide?
Yeah.
Why ergonomics important in hospitals?
Yes.
So, when it
Yeah, but it's not on slideshow. Sorry. If you could just click the slideshow button there. The top of your screen. No. Yeah, there also you have.
No, this one.
Yes. Yeah, this is better.
So largely where I will concentrate my whatever I communicate with you today is based on experiences. So as I said earlier, any planning that needs to be done has to be done with the sole aim of bringing comfort to the patient. Patient can only be comfortable if the environment is all right. Environment can be made comfortable if the people are all right. If they are trained well, they have the knowledge, they have the understanding, they know the procedure and how it is to be done and at what time it has to be done. Time is also very important. At what time the doctor has ordered you to, administer medicine to the patient. There are times when it happens that what had to go at 2 a.m. was finally given by after the shift change at 7 because nobody took care of the doctor's orders. And when the doctor has come for the round in the morning, he says, and he asks, Diya tha, had you given this medicine? No, sir. Just ask the previous one why this column is not filled. I didn't do, sir. So the responsibility is the onus with the employee in proper shape, in proper place, so that he owns or she owns whatever is presented to the person. Most of the times I see people come, work, and work with errors because they feel I am not comfortable enough here to work. Now, how does that environment needs a treatment? So, one of my nurses said, at night, sir, I don't feel comfortable on the nursing station. So, I went to the nursing station and I asked her, sister, what's the problem? And then I realized that the space was too cramped by that time. Everyone was putting in their bags in there. They had those small trolleys placed all around in that space. So this nursing staff had enough space to place a chair for herself. Then you had medicine cartons lying on the floor. Now these are the areas where we said, sir, मैं तो रोज बताती हूँ. That is not the end, batana. Getting it done and getting it supervised every day to see to it that problems do not occur again. I was really thrilled hearing George because he gave so many examples. Kind of, every point that he brought it up with examples and things like that. So the larger debate that he covered was which is very, very pinpointed to what health industry is actually about. So wherever we are, in whatever industry we are, my point that I feel very strongly is to creating an environment which is safe, which gives the comfort to any user, the customer or the internal people there. The environment is so comfortable that making mistake is tending to zero. That T is zero. And only when we are happy, we will be doing our jobs well. So, health industry today, we have just gone through and we are going through a very bad phase. And we as healthcare providers, we have done a tremendous job, no doubt about it, because we knew nothing about this virus. We had no idea what medication had to do, and everything was experimental. And despite doing all those experimental things, we have come to a point where we, in a very short period of time, are getting vaccinated. So all these things happen because people work with a zeal. The scientific fraternity, the medical fraternity, they work with a humongous zeal to bring in a vaccine as soon as possible, and they made it possible, I think, in less than 12 months. So if that is the zeal in treating a patient also at the same time, I think we will make very less mistakes. We will have much better quality. I was just traveling to rural Bihar. I just came in today from there. And I saw all these things happening. In PHCs there are days that a fluid bottle is left hanging and the line is just hung on with the needle onto the stand, IV stand. And people come, sleep, go. Imagine the kind of infection that it can fetch. And when you just ask a simple question to the guy there, the compounder, or they call themselves compounders there, कि भाई साहब why इसमें क्या दूसरे लड़का का काम में, he has not come. And can you imagine hospitals doing these things? It is appalling, but yes, that's also true at the same time. So I'll not take much time. I think we have already come to the end of the time. So what will happen is I will open up the forum now for questions because I had much more to speak about, but since we are constrained on time, we'll open up the forum to the questions. Mona, Dr. Mona?
Yes, so we can, quickly go through a couple of more slides if you have. Does anybody
I think we can open up to the question and answer session.
Okay, sure.
Have one more session subsequently.
Yeah, sure.
Because I have to, I have another call placed with my clients there. So.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, any questions?
So I think.
Now, before the forum has any questions, I would like to put a question across for everybody who attended the meet. Do you kind of now make some sense out of the topic? How is quality related to ergonomics and how ergonomics could be put into a quality team? So does it make a little bit of more sense now? Jha sir, if you could go back to your slide, what does ergonomics mean? Yes, and the other one also. Yes, that one. The excessive force and.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that when it comes to even designing the hospital, as I said, I take into account there is an architect, of course, but the aspect of ergonomics is brought in very wisely and widely in the planning. We made mistakes, sir. We made hospitals which got cramped. So we had to reduce bed numbers to get to the perfect size of, comfort level acquisition. And at the same time, the further plannings, they had this, you would call it a RCA, then you would call it a proper discovery of the facts and figures. And then what is the adequate requirement of space per bed, whether in ICU, at the wards, or in the OPD chambers, clinical, consultation chambers. And therefore, you were able to optimize space. And when you optimize space, you have a better environment happening. The circulation spaces, if they are absolutely, they have enough space of elbow rooms, then the caregiver is at much ease. Now, it can be, you can call ergonomics a science. It is a science, yes. But that science needs to be today, I think, is still unexplored very widely in other in the hospital sector. I think largely in the hospital sector, because when I visit nursing homes and smaller hospitals, I find them that every inch is occupied with something or the other. No space actually allocated for the patient to be comfortable. He may have a bed to sleep, a chair to sit, a wheelchair to go, a stretcher to take him from room to the OT and bring him back. But when it comes to the shifting of the patient, I find most of the places the patient is groaning because of the several turns and twists that he goes through, because there's no planning as to why and how the cart will move, what is the space requirement, whether it will be comfortable for the patient or not. Straight line movement has to happen to avoid all these twists and turns. Nothing. You have wards on one floor, OT on another floor. How do you approach to the lift? It is not taken care of.
Yeah, hospital design is a big.
Yes, that's a big issue. So when we do all these things, we are aiming towards making it a very safe place, comfortable and productive. And this actually works out into, if you look at it, the ROI of the hospital, return on investment, actually works out very well, because I have seen it. We were a 100-bedded hospital one time, got it reduced to 60, 40 beds gone. Now, almost 60 beds used to remain unoccupied. So we came down to 60. So 60% was, 60% of the capacity was not utilized. Only 40% of the capacity would run in the hospital. Most of the time, excepting, the spikes of dengue and all those things that happen. What we see through the pandemic in all the hospitals, people are there. Where they are now, thankfully, they are not there. So we reduced the bed capacity to 60. And to tell you, today, we are almost 90% full. We are occupied because we have become a much better hospital, a much better space. For the patient comfort, we have a much better cafeteria, which is for the attendants and all. And then they have a lovely view of the the roadside view from the cafeteria. So reducing 40 beds actually added up to other proxy revenues that we earn.
So these are some of the management decisions that you take while ensuring quality. You're also taking care of the design. And so next, yes. So I wanted everybody to muse upon this particular slide, because I think this is the bang on thing that we want to discuss. What actually is ergonomics about? It is about increasing the priority on patient comfort, and it makes shifts easier to get through. That is again, the staff comfort, and it reduces critical errors, it improves efficiency, it improves hospital ROI. So you tell me, isn't it, sir? There was another slide which talked about excessive force and things. Yes, this one. So how do we do that? Haven't we learned this? How does ergonomics work? It reduces excessive force. It helps in, it focuses on keeping everything in reach, reduces excessive motions, minimizing fatigue and static load, provide clearance, maintain a comfortable environment. I think all of this we learn as ergonomists, and all of this are also part of quality management. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir.
Absolutely, you're bang on point, because if we have these factors considered into our operations, daily operations, then you see the efficiency, the ultimate result of providing healthcare, that gets enhanced. That is enhanced. So the whole idea is to get the patient satisfied, get him
Yes.
treated, him or her treated, and then send him home as I mentioned earlier, as early as possible, back home. Now, if we have these factors built in, then the ultimate idea of treating the patient well, keeping him happy while in stay, and sending him off with a smile on his face, that will be achieved. So, all these factors, as you rightly said, are very, very much required, and of course, it is ergonomics then to do a quality care.
Absolutely. So that was the point that we had to share. Guys, this is what we already possess. It's just that we need to know that we have a potential to do all of this. If only we could keep our eyes and ears open and we take a plunge into whatever is happening around us at our workplaces. So whether you're working in a hospital or you're working in an industry as an occupational therapist or a visiting consultant or whoever, just keeping an eye open for these parameters. These are actually quality parameters. They are just going to improve your efficiency, and this is going to help you step up in whatever you are doing. Just imagine, this is for professional development in but just by making us all realize that we all possess this. It's just that we need to understand a little bit more in depth, just like Mr. Johnson George shared a couple of things about the fishbone and the root cause analysis, how the root cause analysis can be done with 5 eyes or the fishbone or the other techniques. So if only we could learn these techniques and make ourselves take ourselves to a better position to help people in our organizations. Basically, wouldn't the organization take you as an asset? Correct me if I'm wrong. So that was the whole intent of sharing this and bringing these experts on our platform. We will be taking up questions now on the group. I have added Mr. Jha and Mr. Johnson George on the group. So in case you have any questions, please put them on the group. And either, sir, you could type in a message in the text form, or you could just message back as a voice message to explain your answers. Mr. Johnson has been kind enough to agree to share his PPT with the participants as a part of the material to be shared after the webinar. And I cannot thank you enough both for accepting my invite and sharing the greatest of insights with our professionals. I'm sure for some of you, some pointers were known, and for some of you, it was all totally new concept. But whatever it was, I think to an extent, everybody was able to gather something out of it. Even if one person benefits in some way or the other, in terms of getting better confidence or a better place in his place of work, I think our intent has been fulfilled. So I thank you everyone, whoever has joined to attend. And sorry, yeah. So my other system is asking, are you talking? Your mic is off, and I was confused whether I'm being heard or not. Yeah. So great. Thank you so much, everyone, for encouraging us and be a part of the group. In case you are not a part of ERGON-TEC, the Ergonomics Club, please let me know so that I can help you get added to the group as well. We have a Facebook community as well. So please join the group. The club is meant for creating awareness and for professional upliftment, creating awareness amongst the professionals as well as people, experts like you. And I'm sure you are going to spread the word across that there are some species called ergonomists and please provide them with some work, let's hire some of them. So I think that is the purpose of the group, and I think we'll call it a day now. Thank you so much again.